concerns. That's compared to its previous forecast of 0.3% growth. Khaya Sithole is an independent analyst and he joins me now from Johannesburg. Khaya, great to have you on. It is so painful to see what the rand is doing. As a South African, I have to say it is unbelievable to see what it has done against the US dollar. It's on the back of this news, right? But it's also a confluence of issues, the power cuts, the other domestic problems that South Africa is facing. But what we've seen now with the US ambassador saying that South Africa supplied arms to Russia, that seems to have exacerbated the situation. Take us through what the rand is doing, what it's responding to.
So good evening. And I think obviously, as you rightly said, it is the sum of different factors that have equally contributed to the decimation of the rand. What we do know is that our currency has historically been weak and our currency is very reactive in relation to exogenous global events in particular. But what you've seen this week is that there's been an amplified reaction in relation to the fact that from the moment I think the currency market became aware that there would be a statement coming from the US ambassador, the very first instinctive reaction was the suspicion that perhaps this would lead to the type of sanctions that would then make it very difficult for South African businesses and indeed the South African currency to be as actively traded in the global markets as it is. So you saw that huge decline that was actually happening long before we actually saw the first press conference from the US ambassador. And that obviously reflects the great anxieties that everyone has around the question of, well, what will the consequences of all these developments be?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been looking down a lot. I'm sure you at home might have noticed. I've just seen a tweet by Clayton Monyela. He's the head of public diplomacy, and he said that the USA ambassador to South Africa met with ministers earlier today. And look, they are saying that this isn't factual, that South Africa did not supply to Russia. But of course, we know that there's a commission of inquiry that is now being put in place to try and figure out and investigate what actually transpired. But this is a strained relationship, it seems, with the West, specifically because South Africa seems to be leaning towards not wanting to condemn Russia for the war in Ukraine. Putin might be coming to South Africa for the summits later this year. There's an ICC, arrest warrant out for him. The question is South Africa going to arrest Putin if he does arrive? There's just so much tension, I think, that is putting strain on these relationships.
Yeah, and the origin of the tension is that South Africa, like any other country, took a particular stance at the outbreak of the Ukraine invasion last year. And South Africa said that they were not going to sort of take a position in either way. They were going to promote the sense of the type of diplomacy that was going to end up with the conflict being de-escalated. So that non-alignment position is a position that any country was within its means to choose. What seems to have been the problem that has developed since then is that in spite of the pronounced position of non-alignment, South Africa has been seen to be actively embracing Russia in relation to this particular conflict. So we do know that even before we heard about the whole Simon's Town story, there were some naval expeditions that were done between the country and Russia earlier on this year. We do know that the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, has actually been given an audience by Pretoria. So obviously, for a lot of observers who thought South Africa was taking a neutral position, that created a sense of curiosity about how exactly neutral that position was when you were doing this type of activities that would lead to many people to thinking that you're actively embracing Russia. So that's been the origins of the problem. What we are now also seeing is that when the ICC then issued that indictment against Putin, we already had planned the summit, the BRICS summit later on. And then the question was, well, how will South Africa react to this? And so far, the reaction has been so ambivalent. Very few people actually know what South Africa's position is in relation to this current crisis.
Khaya, there have been more blackouts in 2023 or power cuts in 2023 than we saw in 2022. And we're sitting only in mid-May. How bad is the electricity situation going to get?
Well, unfortunately, it's not going to get better until we get some direction from the government on what the immediate short-term solutions are. So what we do know is that Eskom clearly has been made it very clear that they do not have the capacity or the resources to fix the problem on their own. So what we've been hoping for is that other parts of the state or other arms of the state are going to contribute towards a holistic solution. So far, the lack of coordination has simply meant that no one in the country can actually predict or estimate that the situation is going to get better anytime soon. So what we've now ended up with is the issue where some people with means are simply then opting out of participating in the grid. So you're seeing that even National Treasury has given some tax incentives to promote that moving away from the grid. So unfortunately, for a lot of citizens who do not have the financial means to go off grid, they are going to remain dependent on Eskom. And Eskom, unfortunately, at this point, quite simply still doesn't have a holistic range of solutions that's going to enable us to believe that in the short term or in the medium term, we're going to have a de-escalation of the load shedding crisis.
Yeah. That's one thing I don't miss is the power cuts. But Khaya Sithole, great to see you. Great to have you on the show, sir. Much appreciated. All right.